Hello, everybody. My name is Dane Gentry. This is Tired of Being Knocked Down podcast. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. Tonight, I'm having a special show, man. It's we've been wanting to do this one for a little while. I'm going to have Beth on. Beth is my wife. For all y'all who do not know, she is works in the field of addiction. Soon to have a degree. Tonight, we're going to be talking about mental health and the importance of it, and the importance of, hey, honey,
There we
the
are.
importance. Yeah, there you are. And the importance of the signs, early signs of it, and what causes it more, and all them things. So, hey, how you doing, honey?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Can you hear me good?
I can.
All right, everything's good. I'm gonna wait a few minutes before we start. Just let people come on a minute. Let them come in. That
Okay.
way we ain't gotta keep. I'm gonna go and put this on the recording so it'll be on there. I've got a show coming up. It's gonna be my first video show. I'm kind of proud of that, and it's really on the lines of what I originally started out with the idea of, and that was stories of hope. People who've overcome just what's my word I'm looking for? Unbelievable things to make it and to prosper in life. And there's a guy by the name of David Riggins. If you don't know his story, you will. He was basically knotted out on fentanyl and was burnt, lost a leg, and through all that, he has stayed sober since. It changed his life, and so he's going to be on. We're going to be talking about his story and his strength and hope, which is to me unbelievable. I mean, to go through something like that. I thought going through all my tooth stuff without any medicine was something that's nothing compared to what this man's gone through, and he's it's so incredible because it's let his heart into wanting to help others, and so um, that I don't know the date on it, and then I'm going to have a young lady on who is also overcome some things and started a treatment center, and her name is Leslie. Is she still using?
Sober living homes, and she does a lot of things. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, and she's big in it, and she's done some good stuff for us, and so, and that's kind of how all this stuff works, you know. Us addicts when we're out there, people wouldn't believe the hearts that we truly really have and how we really are, and especially someone like me, I try to hide it and do all that, but no one's come on yet. We're going to go ahead and get started though. We're going to keep it at an hour. So, are you ready, baby?
I'm ready, and we'll probably get a lot of downloads afterwards. So,
Yeah, that's what it's all about anyway. You know,
for
we
people to listen and share, because this is near and dear to my heart. Mental health. Everybody has it. Sometimes it's not good, but it's important to talk about. And I first want to give a shout out to God, because Um, he is my everything. Without him, I can do nothing. So I first want to acknowledge him before we get into this. So, um,
that's I always talk about God, and but I think I would like that idea better. You just then hit me with it at first instead of always waiting until the end. Um, okay, honey. So here we go. I'm going to be your big interviewer tonight. You got to be easy on me now.
be easy on me.
All right. So let's talk about why mental health is important
Okay.
for our overall health.
Okay. Well, first of all, mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well being. So it affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. It determines how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and how we make healthy choices. It's important in every stage of our life, from childhood, adolescence, and through adulthood. Um, an example is depression. Increases the risk for many types of physical health problems, conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And it's proven that it does it when you do not take care of your mental health. You do suffer with diseases that can end your life quicker.
Uh,
Um, Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think that's huge. I hope everyone's catching that. I think that's something that we don't think about. I mean, a lot of us don't think about mental health alone, but those things, what the other underlying things, I guess you would say, I may be wrong on that, but the other underlying things that it causes, I never thought about that. I never thought about the diabetes and heart disease and all that stuff. Um, but I guess it kind of fits in a way. Depression causes so many things. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, an example is like your mental health. When somebody is like lonely, they suffer, and it is um, it is, and loneliness is actually it's actually an epidemic in our country too. People don't realize um, that can end life quicker. When people aren't happy and everything struggles, you're not taking care of yourself. Your body suffers in many ways. So it's important to take care of our mental health. And I do want to mention, and not to stereotype, but men have a harder time admitting because of stigmas that they have issues with depression, anxiety, things like that. I do want to point out this is a medically recognized condition that needs to be addressed and treated by medical professionals if anyone is struggling with mental health issues. There is absolutely zero shame in this. It is, again, like having diabetes, or a heart disease, or whatever you may have that you might need treatment for. It is a medically recognized disease. So I just want to point that out there. I don't know. We're in Tennessee. Um, I don't know everybody's area, but there is help available. And I do want to point out if there's a way at the end, if someone is struggling, we'll figure out a way they can reach out to us to get resources for mental health. But mental health can change over time, obviously, and it depends on many factors. When demands are placed on an individual and it exceeds their resources and coping abilities, and their mental health is impacted. So, for example, if someone working long hours, caring for a relative, or experiencing financial hardships, they can experience poor mental health. Um, Statistics show that more than 1 in 5 adults have mental illness. I believe that's a lot higher. Um,
Yeah, me too.
and we don't actually, they can't actually poll everybody in the United States. So these are statistics they have, and they're not always up to date. So these may be, lagging by a couple years by the time they put out statistics. But I can guarantee the numbers that I may say tonight are much higher today. Over 1 in 5 youth from ages 13 to 18, either currently or at some point in their life, have had a debilitating mental illness, and
Wow,
that's
that's unbelievable. That's why.
yeah, it
That's
is.
high.
It is. There's no single cause for mental illness. Um, we talk about co-occurring disorders with addiction. Um, People can either have like a mental illness, which leads to addiction, or have addiction, which leads to a mental illness.
Wow.
Um, there's
And
something called adverse childhood experiences, and it's something if you ever go in to get treatment or go in to get therapy, counseling, um, they should give you a sheet that's called the ACEs, and that's the adverse childhood experiences. And people that score, they were saying 6 or higher, but they're now saying like 4 or 5. If you score like a 4 on this, and you can go online and look it up, it's the ACE again. It's adverse childhood experiences. If you score anywhere between like a 4 or 6 or higher, they show statistics where this can take off nearly 20 years of your life if things
mm,
aren't dealt with.
wow.
The ACE test deals with things in your childhood, from child abuse, sexual assault, witnessing violence where your parents divorced. Was there violence in the home, fighting in the home, were one of your parents or more incarcerated? Did you not have both parents? So it's kind of interesting to look at.
Well, this I want to stop you just a second because I
Yeah,
mean, just think about how many of the things you just hit me on the head with.
yeah,
How many of them? I mean, that you just named out that I had. Um, and it's important too when you're reaching out. You might not have the right doctor at first. We know my situation the first time. I didn't like the person. And had I dealt with it back then, if I'd had a good doctor. So don't if you feel you got something going on, you're reaching out and you go to a doctor and you don't feel right for you, don't let that discourage you, because there are some amazing people out there and they have a heart for it, just like people do in addiction. Hey there, GGRB, how you doing? Um, So don't let that be a factor of um, keeping you from reaching out to someone else. Go ahead,
No,
honey.
absolutely don't. For those of you that have insurance, you can go to the back of your insurance card and there's a number for member services, and you can call into that and tell them what you're experiencing. For example, I just had somebody, I work in the addiction field. I work as peer support and case management. um, and I try to help people, with resources and things. You can call and get, like, if you had experienced trauma, you need a trauma counselor. If you're experiencing grief, you can get somebody that specializes in grief. But here's the thing: it is there's one counselor for every 350 people, and not all those counselors are always very good. So I always tell people it's important. This is your time. This is, your money. You have a right to interview the person that you're going to be sharing these details with. I can't say how many times I have somebody that says, I didn't like the, therapist, and I'm tired of having to start over and tell my story from the beginning. It's so hard already for a lot of people to open up, about things they experienced in their life, in their childhood, or going through now, much less have to start over, um, with different therapists. It's hard. So
Yeah, it
make
can
sure
be.
that you're asking for a specific counselor that deals with specific issues that you're going through, and then interview that person before you meet with them and open up. And so that's advice. I'm a big supporter of therapy and counseling. I'm about to finish my master's degree in counseling, so obviously I'm a big supporter of it. But I've been in therapy, excuse me, probably over 20 years in my life, off and on. And when I go through times where I struggle, I'll pick up that phone and I'll reach out to try to get some help. And I may only need to, you know, be with a therapist for 3 months or so to get over, something I'm going through right now, or I may go through, a longer period. I don't know. Everybody's different, but don't hesitate to reach out for help. It's so important.
It is, and it's a hard thing to do. I mean, when I had my deal, I knew I wasn't right. I knew it. I didn't want to. I didn't want to believe it, and the reason I really didn't want to reach out for help because I had a bad experience the first time when you tried to get me to go to that place. I'm gonna have to say it, but and immediately we both were shut down from the guy. I mean, we were sitting in there, and I knew you felt what I felt from it. So if in my opinion, if the doctor you go see or therapist or whatever, if they're not very thorough, they might not be the right one for you. Um, I said it last night. I don't think you was on here. I talked about Centerstone. You know, it's free for people. I don't know what you have to do, whatever what the qualifications are, but I had an amazing therapist there, and she is what helped me change doing things. But Beth tried to get me to go get help for a long time and counseling and all this, and I wouldn't do it. I always thought that my only problem was drugs, and that's just not true. There's always some underlying stuff, and I still deal with stuff. I still have stuff I have to deal with. So just because you're sober, man, you got to think if you're someone who I know everybody that deals with mental health is not just addicts, but if you are, you already took a big step when you reach out for help for your addiction. So do the same thing for your mental health. You see the little signs, or if you have any of these, what did you call them? ACEs? Is that what you called them?
The ACEs test, yeah. And capital ACE, it's adverse childhood experiences. And it's interesting to see where you might score on that.
Man, I score very high. I mean, just
You
by
might
looking
be,
at it,
yeah. Basically, you never had a chance.
I never had a
Um,
chance.
yeah,
You're right. I didn't have a chance.
mm, not with
I didn't.
everything you went through. And not everybody has the same coping mechanisms to deal with things. I had wonderful parents, but I did have a mother that didn't know how to cope,
Right.
with things. So she wasn't able to teach me how to cope with normal things. I grew up thinking slamming doors and screaming and throwing my hands up in the air and saying I quit, um, was the way to go, and it's not. So there's no shame in that either. And I mean, uh, parenting doesn't come with a handbook. People don't always know, and from my mom's generation, they didn't talk about things. So as we go through life, each generation, it changes and things are being brought to light, thank God, and we're able to talk about things more than we ever used to be. It's more accepted now, I guess. So it's there's not so much stigma in the shame of it, which there never should have been in the first place.
No, listen. I've always considered myself to be, tough guy, big guy, tough guy, this, that, and the other, and I needed help, and I needed a lot of it. Without it, I wouldn't be on the other side of this microphone. I have no doubt about that. So please reach out. And speaking of that, I'm going to lead us right into that subject that goes along with mental health, which is suicides. Uh, let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's talk about that.
All right,
Now,
let's do it.
we talked yesterday. I kind of mentioned every 5 minutes somebody dies from a drug overdose. Every 11 minutes somebody dies from a suicide.
Wow.
And I just want to give a pause for a minute to think about that. Every 11 minutes, that's almost 6 people an hour.
Mm.
And then that's 12 people an hour with drugs. Um, these are things that can be controlled because there's help available. It's not a death sentence like you have a disease like cancer in the end stages that's going to take your life. These are things that we have the tools to get help for this, but it involves reaching out, and that can be hard. Um, but there's many factors that increase risk for suicide. Suicide is, um, I think most of us at least know somebody or have heard of somebody that's taken their life. I
I
guess,
know many. I know many people
yeah,
myself. I didn't witness it firsthand, but I found a few people, and different things like that. And some of these people were friends of mine.
yeah.
And I've had friends from my childhood also, and then my nephew, of course. Go ahead, honey.
It's I felt it too, and I tried to take my life when I was 18 over something I look back now was so silly, but I didn't have and that was my first experience in therapy. My parents got me into therapy. But I guess it was what, a year and a half ago, my ex-husband took his
Hmm.
life,
Yep.
left our boys, and one of them struggles greatly with it. It's heartbreaking, and I had known him for 40 years. Never would have seen that coming. Never would have seen it coming. Um,
I definitely didn't expect that phone call that morning when you called me.
no,
That was the last thing I expected you to say. I didn't know what was going on, um, and it was yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, don't be sorry. I don't want to talk the whole time anyway.
Okay.
But anyone that's experienced violence, child abuse, bullying, sexual violence, all have a higher risk, um, higher suicide risk. Um, so I talk a lot in my groups about being connected to people, and not everybody has family that are healthy and can or that they can connect to. But reaching out to people, getting connected to people is so important. Church and finding the right church. That's a good way. Finding groups, things that you enjoy doing, hiking clubs, biking clubs, whatever, connecting with people. And people say you can count your friends on one hand. Sometimes you can count them on one finger. So I always talk about, like, don't wait. We don't know what life is going to present to us. We don't know what's coming our way from 1 minute to the next. So don't wait. Start building connections with people. You need that. People that are that struggle with addiction. There's all kind of support groups. People that have experienced grief. There's support groups. There's support groups for almost anything you can think of. But for people that aren't comfortable with that, find what you enjoy doing. What is your hobby? What do you enjoy doing? And look into your community, and find what groups are available, get into service work, anything, but just connections with people are important to have.
That's and that's what I say a lot. I say this a lot of times is that when we're out there in addiction, things are going on. Unfortunately, we lose people. We do all these things, but we don't feel, and that's the whole purpose of us doing drugs. And so it's the same things that happen in sobriety. It's just now we feel them, so we have to have a way to deal with them, and that's what we don't do. And so things hit us harder when we're sober. I guess is the best way to put that. And for me, that's true anyway. And that's why I got high like I did. And that's why I stayed so numbed out. And
Yeah.
the last of my addiction, all I did was set up on edge of a motel bed and smoking heroin or fentanyl and killing myself. But I was doing it because I was running from all the other problems I was having. But okay, see, look, we got VJABs from Nigeria. He's on
Yeah,
here with us.
welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
So in again, I told you statistics may not be current, but just an idea. So um the rates increased, suicide rates increased almost 36% between 2000 and 2021, and it was actually responsible for almost 50,000 deaths in 2021. And that's
That's
where you get the number of one death every 11 minutes from suicide. And
wow.
then people who think about or even attempt suicide is much higher. And again, we don't have all the numbers because not everybody reports it.
No,
Um,
can I go back and touch on something else real quick?
yes,
On the when you was talking about suicide, you was talking about the sexual things as a child. That's a hard thing for a man to come out and say. I mean, I can only
absolutely.
imagine. It didn't happen to me, thank God, but I do know um, that it is very big in men. I know it's real high in women, but I think now the numbers are showing that it's almost as high with boys. Don't feel it's your fault. That's not your fault, and whoever you go talk to is going to be a safe person. So let it out, man. Talk about it. They're not going to share it with anyone. They're not going to talk about it to anyone. You have to share on it and let it out and get it gone.
Absolutely.
Uh,
You got to walk through that pain to get to the other side. That's important. Shoving it down and not acknowledging it is toxic and will poison you. It's not going to get better. But I can tell you, I went through it as a child with my half brother, and um, I went for years covering it up. And when I went through therapy, I had a counselor talk to me and tell me, this is not your fault. I felt shame. And as a woman, I felt shame. And I know it's much harder for men. Um, there is a difference. I want to point this out too in shame and guilt. Shame is, I am a bad person, and guilt is, my behavior was bad.
hmm
Um, I didn't do anything to bring this on. It happened to me. And I had to walk through that, and it was uncomfortable. It felt dirty. But I can tell you now, I don't feel anything about it anymore. I don't feel any shame, any guilt, any bad feelings at all. And that's
And
because I
she's
did the work and I went through therapy. I don't have anger towards him. And so I'm telling you, there is hope in getting help.
and she's being 1,000,000% honest because I tell her myself, oh, I don't know how you do that. That just goes to show your health. But I want to say also, I said it didn't happen to me as a child. It really did with women. With me as a young child, I never really looked at that as being that I was molested, but in reality, I was. I don't know what the deal was there, and we've talked about it a lot. And Beth
Hmm.
is the first one that really pointed out that yeah, it's wrong. And but we as men or boys, I was a boy. I'm just now really becoming a man anyway. But we think it's cool. You know what I mean? Oh man, look here, man. My friend's mother wants to know, man. That's molestation too. It's wrong.
You had older
Uh,
women coming on to you
yes, without a doubt.
as a
Yeah,
teenager. Yeah.
without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Wrong, wrong, wrong. Um, what's really sad to me is suicide was the second leading cause of death for kids aged 10 to 14, and also in the age range from 20 to 34. But these are the hard subjects to talk about with kids. it is important as parents, and I want to say this, leave that door open. Do not react. When a child comes to you, if you can get them to talk to you about something, do not react. Do not be shocked. You can talk about it with somebody later, but give them that safe space. Hold that space for them to share and then be able to get that help for them. At such young ages, it's sad. It is just it's alarming to me. I always kept that door open for my kids. Like nothing is too big for you to talk to me about. Um, and I'm not going to freak out on you. I just want you to be able to talk to me. Keeping those lines of communication open is so important.
And I saw a thing. I want to touch on that. What you're talking about with kids, also be aware of what's going on. I saw a video the other day, and it was a lady, and she's documenting where all of a sudden she gets this little package in the mail, and at first you would have thought that it came from Amazon or something, but she opened it up and there's a bunch of very expensive sunglasses, and it was addressed to her. I think 10, or I can't remember. It was her son. He was either 10 or 11, and she's like, what is this? And then the very next day she gets another package, and it's bigger. Opens it up, and it's an Apple MacBook, which is a very expensive computer, as everyone knows. And this was a predator that her child had been online, through either one of the gaming things or something. So just be aware of that as well. Man, you know, uh, I don't, I guess that all the predator stuff has always been there. There's just now more ways for them to get at your children and get to your children. So just be aware and be all up in their business with the same things like I talk about with drugs. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we've talked about the one death every 11 minutes. Just some statistics. Um, 12 million people seriously have thought about suicide. Um, 3.5 million have made a plan, and 1.7 have attempted.
Mm,
Those are sobering numbers, and I want to go over um, just there are higher suicide rates among different race and ethnicity, age, and there's other factors. So I just want to go over these real quick. The highest rates are non-Hispanic Americans, Indian, Alaskan Native, um, are followed by non-Hispanic white people. Other Americans with higher rates are veterans, and there is help for veterans, um, too. We're seeing more of that. People also that live in rural areas, they don't have access to the help that we have, like in the cities. So that's another factor. They're trying to get more help to those people in those areas, and there's also different people in different industries and occupations, like mining and construction. People who struggle with their identity, and their sexual identity, have a higher prevalence of suicidal thoughts.
mm,
So, as compared to those that identify as heterosexual. So 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline. 988. And I can promise you, people worry they're going to send the cops to my house. They're going to come take me away. They're going to come take me and lock me up. And I'm never going to get out. That's not the case. These people are trained to talk to you. So if you have no one to call, please pick up the phone and at least call 988, or you can even text if you're not comfortable talking and you're comfortable texting, because there are people that are antisocial. They struggle with connections to people. If you are uncomfortable, you can text that number, and you can also chat at 988 lifeline.org. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but people that need resources, I don't care what area it is, I'm going to find a way where they can reach out and I can get resources. This is what I do for people where I work. And I tell them, if they have family or friends that have struggles, reach out to me. I don't care who it is. At the end of the day, I want to help anybody that's struggling. I know what that feeling feels like, to feel alone, and feel like you have nobody, or nobody cares. And I don't want anybody to feel that way. So again, 988, call or text that number. So
you touched on antisocial. I want to touch on that just a minute because, as we
yeah,
know, I dealt with that as well. Wow, I just dealt with all kinds of stuff, didn't I? Um,
We process things
uh,
when we process them, right?
yeah, it. I was in solitary confinement for a total of 9 years. The first time I got
Mm.
out of prison, I done my last two in solitary confinement. When I came home, I wouldn't even go into a regular convenience store. The thought of it, I would just pour sweat. I would shake. It was just like the most terrifying thing that I could do. And I wasn't a person who dealt with fear a lot. I was too stupid. But anyway, that was crippling to me. And so this antisocial thing is very, very real. And since 2020, I know the numbers of that have grew because everybody was isolated even more. And so that's a real thing too. And it's hard, and that's something you reach out for help too, because I know what that's like, not wanting to go outside the door. I mean, at the time, of course, I was still using, and I would at everybody be around me during the day. And I told Beth this, and she's never really seen me drink, but I would at night when everybody would leave, I'd have to kill 6 beers just to even just calm down to be able to go to sleep. So it's very real. But there's people that can help you with that as well. My uncle actually helped me with it, but my Uncle Randy is actually my uncle by marriage, an amazing man, but that's another subject. But so it's very real. Reach out for help for that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Um, Let me go over just some other statistics real quick. So, for every suicide death, and this is for every suicide death, right?
Hmm.
This is one every 11 minutes. There were 3 hospitalizations for self harm. There was 8 emergency department visits related to suicide. There was 38 self-reported suicide attempts in that year, um, and 265 people who seriously considered suicide. And suicide usually happens after one or more attempts. So it's so important to pay attention to your loved ones, or people around you, your neighbors. We have a seems like we have a hard time making eye contact with people anymore because our faces are buried in our phones. Look
Without
up,
a doubt. Without a
make
doubt.
eye contact with people. Smile at people, say hello. You have no idea just how much that little thing that we have control over can make such a difference to somebody.
Do
Um,
you remember today when we was talking on the phone? I was standing outside, and this random guy was just walking down the street.
yep,
He said, "Hey, how you doing today?" And I just got so much of just an uplift from that alone. I mean, because it just don't happen. We just don't.
yep,
Things just don't
absolutely.
happen.
Kindness is free. It's so important to me. It's Kindness is free, and it's easy to give away, and it makes you feel better too
Yep.
when you connect with people. So it's important to do that. Pay attention. And we had somebody actually last night text something about talking about this about pay attention to those, all of a sudden just become very happy. People start giving things away. Those are signs too of somebody that has been struggling. If you know somebody's been struggling and all of a sudden they're just unusually happy, pay attention to that. They're giving things away. They've already made their plan and decided that this is what they're going to do when they're going to do it. So pay attention to that.
I never had thought about that part there about the giving stuff away until last night. But it makes perfectly good sense. It happened one deal in prison. That's what one guy did, and the next morning, there he was. He was gone.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
It's so sad and it breaks my heart for somebody to feel like they don't have anybody to talk to. So
yeah,
it's something that can, again, can be helped. It can be helped. So
yeah,
I'm not saying it's easy. Anybody struggling with addiction or mental health um, illness, you got to do the work. But I promise you, it's worth it. It's
yeah.
worth it.
Without a doubt, you gotta take care of self. Um, everything's important. Of course, I'm gonna go back to number one, which is God. God can make you happy. That's for sure. It leads you to happiness if you really get to know Him. Lead start there too as well. That's a good place. Help you find some kind of meaning. But
Yep, and I've
any
heard you say before too. If you don't believe, give it a chance.
yeah, just give it a week. Give it a week, man, and see what happens. I feel like you'll start to notice a thing, and Bobby said it's all about taking care of yourself and your health. It is. It really is. you feel better about yourself. Getting a haircut, and I cut mine every day anyway.
Mhm.
Uh,
And
but
we're
I'll
going to
take.
touch on self care too. That's so important. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, honey.
No, well, I wanted to just real quick touch on addiction too. And we talked about every 5 minutes someone dies from a drug overdose. Almost 100,000 people a year are dying from drug overdoses.
Mm.
We talked about comorbidity, which is, I hate that word really. It sounds awful, but the co-occurring disorders, which is addiction and mental health, coming together. We don't know what happens first. Either you have, a mental health, which, like you talked about, you don't want to feel your feelings, and then you reach out to a substance to numb you out so you don't have to feel. Or then there's people that are on, the drugs that lead to mental illness. For example, a meth-induced psychosis,
Yeah. I know a little bit about that as well.
which can lead to schizophrenia. So yeah, and so here's something from the last time somebody uses a drug, if they're fortunate enough to live, from the last time you use a drug, it can take 14 months or longer for your brain to restore back to a natural state if you're fortunate
Mm.
enough to get there. Be patient with yourself. If you are a person that suffers with drug addiction and you're in recovery, be patient with yourself, because it takes time. It's not abnormal, that you're thinking and everything is doesn't feel right. Just because you stop a drug doesn't mean that everything is fine. It takes time. Do you want to talk about any of the psychosis or?
Yeah. I've kind of touched on it before, but it's a for me. I literally went to bed one night and woke up the next day, and something was different. I wanted to end our relationship. I started isolating. I wouldn't eat. I was doing really all the things that would make you think that I was on drugs, but I wasn't. And I would sit in a parking lot in a car all day long. Just sit there, just a random parking lot. I had kind of my picks for whatever reason, the places I would go, but I would just sit there, and I knew something wasn't right, but I wasn't wanting to admit it, and I wasn't wanting to reach out and go get help. Um, but I finally listened, and I finally did. It's very, very real. Um, so again, just you'll see the signs in yourself, and maybe you won't, but other people will. Even if you kind of see them a little bit, you still may not want to say, you'll still, that little voice is going to tell you, you're all right. You don't need it. But I'm going to tell you, please do it. Please reach out. If I would have waited any longer, again, I wouldn't be here today.
No,
Um, Without a doubt, I would not be here. So,
100%
um,
true.
and in my opinion, for myself, I think it was just a combination of everything. I think everything just finally caught up with me. All the demons I call them, and different things I was trying to escape from and run away from, and it all just hit me. And life was good at this time. I'm talking about my life. Our life was great. Well, John, the whole deal with John had just happened, but that had nothing to do with it. But yeah, it just clicked, and it can happen to anyone. So please pay attention because it happens quick. It happens. I'm telling you, literally. I went to bed and I was fine. Me and Beth talked. Everything was fine. The business was going good as it always did, and then here I go. It was again. It'll be a lot of the same things. Well, for me, it definitely was. Um, that it'll make you appear that you're using, even though you're not, and that's what most
Mhm.
most people are going to say. So listen, let them say that. Don't worry about it. I didn't. It ate me up. I'm okay with it now. But because I was always one of them. Look here, I've been sober for 24 hours. I'm good. You should trust me. Everything should be okay now. And
Mhm.
of course, it's not that way. But just pay attention. And if you love someone who is an addict, and there's people that do love us all, and you have that person in your life, and you love them, pay attention to them as well. Something like that, like a big drastic change, and it may not be as drastic as that. It may be they stop doing something that they've always done, or
Mhm.
they stop making their bed, or they start sleeping into noon, or whatever it may be, or start staying up all night. It could be a number of things. Just pay attention.
Absolutely. So more than overdoses have killed over 1 million people in the last 20 years. Um, More than 4 times as many people died from a drug overdose than from homicide in 1 month in
Hmm.
2021.
That's unbelievable because the homicide rate in this country is very high. In case you
Yeah,
don't know that, I know you know that, but
yeah,
people that are listening, they are very high.
yeah.
So think about that.
They exceed homicides by over 307%. And these, again, are statistics that are, a few years old. It takes a minute. We have people from the state that come and talk at our facility, and they don't even have up to date statistics. So, anyway, it's opioids are responsible for 68% of uh, overdoses. Cocaine is almost 22%. Psychostimulants are 21%, and methadone, which is supposed to be uh, to help treat opioid addiction, is responsible for 5%. And I won't get into all that right now. Between for those that are in medical assisted treatment, Suboxone is much safer than methadone. Methadone is very addicting, but I won't get in. That's not what we're talking about. But um, that's just a fact. So
I'll say this real quick. She knows this firsthand because I've tried that as well, and it's just an even stronger dope. So but go ahead, honey.
yeah. So I don't want to keep killing people with statistics, but it's alarming. And you can go on and look, and men are twice as likely as women to die from drug overdoses. Uh, what's scary to me now too. We talked about yesterday is this xylazine that's out. That is a large animal tranquilizer. We're not talking about a dog. We're talking about horses and elephants and large animals that can be bought over the counter that they're cutting into drugs. And they're putting into pressed pills that look, just like something you'd get from the pharmacy. It is so dangerous out there right now to pick up anything, and it's being cut into marijuana. It's being put in these cartridges. The kids are buying vapes from people. It's being put in that. It is talk to your kids. Yeah, I can't say this enough because it's bad enough for an adult, but gosh, it's getting to our kids. And it scares me to death. You got to talk to your kids about what's going on. Educate yourself about what's going on. Talk to them about these things. It's just I can't stress it enough. I know we're kind of getting close on time, so I wanted to talk about self care. Self care is so important to our mental health. Um, it's We've got to take care of our physical, our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual aspects of our life. All of those. It's all of it. So, um, some people think that it's a self indulgence to do this or that involving self care. You talked about getting a haircut. I talk to people, go get your nails done. Go, that's too extravagant. No, it's not. If that makes you feel good and you can afford it, go do that. Um, so, what is self care? Um, According to the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, um, self care is being able to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and cope with the illness or disability without support of a healthcare provider. So, what are things that we can do to take care of ourselves? What are things that we can do?
Do all kind of things. I'll
So,
speak as I'll speak as an addict. I mean, start um, being responsible. That make you feel better.
mhm,
Taking a bath that make you feel better.
yeah.
'Cause I don't care who
Hygiene,
you
that's huge.
hygiene. Yeah, that's
I can't tell you how many people that suffer from addiction I talk to that talk about just taking a shower sometimes when they're going through a moment of um, feeling like they want to use. Just going and taking a hot shower makes them feel better, but it makes
yeah.
me feel better too. When I get that shower, I feel so much better. If I've been sick, That's another thing that can lead to depression too, is sickness. But get in that shower. What we put in our bodies, what we eat, right? Things that we eat.
Yeah.
Do
Yep.
you feel good after you eat a greasy hamburger? It might taste good,
Some peanut butter cookies. Mm.
but does it weigh you down? Nutrition, and there's all kind of foods you can research too that actually help with, um, you know, helping with depression and different things you're going through. So balancing our nutrition, lifestyle factors such as exercise, which I don't like to call it exercise. I like to refer to it as movement. You people say exercise, and I know for me, it's like, ooh, it's not a. I want to be one of those people that wants to go and work out, and exercise and all that, but movement, just getting up and walking, or standing up in place and marching, or whatever it is, walking to the mailbox, going to walk around the block, going to kick your soccer ball with your kid, play basketball, whatever it is, movement. Get up and move.
Yeah.
Um, that helps.
Put you some headphones in and download a good episode of Dane Gentry's podcast and go take you a walk.
Yeah,
Listen to some good healthy stuff or whatever it is your favorite music. That's what I like to do. That's kind of a big thing for me. I like to put my headphones on and when I get there, when I'm in one of those moods or whatever, but dressing nice makes you feel better.
yeah.
All those
Whatever
things.
you can do. And not everybody has great living conditions either, but we
No,
all have the ability to clean. So clean your house, clean your space, wherever you live, clean it. Organize. You can organize your things, make you feel better. I know, we were talking about me. I went from a large space to a smaller space at one point, and I can't stand stuff. Just I have to have it organized. I'm one of those people. I got to have things organized. I feel better. Whatever it is that makes you feel better, getting out in the sunshine, get some of that vitamin D, even in the winter, because winter, we know is a hard time for a lot of people. We used to think that like suicides happen more around the holidays of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all that. But actually, y'all, right now and going into spring, these are when these are the higher levels of uh, suicide is right now. So I don't know where you live. We had some like sub-zero temperatures here. We're now like in the 60s, but even when it was cold, I was opening up those windows and getting that sun to come in and get that sunshine.
yeah, we went
Um,
what? We went like a week without any sunshine at all, or maybe even longer.
well,
And I
that's why
remember,
you think that's why Alaska is
yeah,
so high in suicides. They
yeah.
don't have that sunshine.
I heard our daughter there. She was telling everybody hello. That was Miss Kelly, barking a while ago.
Who?
Um, Kelly, I heard her barking. What she?
Oh,
What she barking?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's having a nightmare. That's the dog.
Yeah, that's the dog. Yeah. Yeah, all these things are just so important in every way, and everything we've talked about tonight is so important. And if you know someone struggling, have them listen to this, or just I'm gonna try to figure out a way to put some resources in. I could put them in the chat. I'm not sure if people go back and watch if they're in the chat. Even I guess I should find that out. But
Yeah,
um, that we always leave every show every night with my email. We can leave Beth's email and her work stuff also.
yeah.
Um,
Anybody that needs something, please. If there's a way to do that, I want people to reach out, and I will send you resources. I just want to make sure everybody's knows how to go about it. So wherever your area is, I will look it up. Let's, because I know we're getting short on time. I just want to cover a couple more things because I know
okay,
it's
go
going
ahead.
to be kept under an hour. So self care is prioritizing your physical and mental health. Trying to adopt some healthy lifestyle habits. Eating a healthy diet. Getting some movement. Um, I actually showed a video. This is he's a British Olympic diver. His name is Leon Taylor. He's got a video out there, and he talked about as a kid, he had ADHD, and his parents took him to a doctor. And what do doctors most of the time want to do? Put you on medication.
Yep.
His parents said not no, and they chose a different form. They chose movement, and this is where I got the movement from, was from him, because he talked about just talking about movement, not exercise, calling it movement. Um, it has been shown that some people have to be on medication. There's no shame in that at all, but some people don't. He was able to deal with his ADHD without medication. So I'm not a promoter of either one. I'm just kind of wanting to throw some things out to people. Because if you need medication, you need it. But that's up to a doctor and you to discuss together and decide. And if you don't like that doctor, get another opinion. But he talked about that and how he was able to deal with his ADHD um, through getting out and moving. And he's an Olympic diver. Making sure we're getting good sleep, which I'm not very good at. And I'm in school and I'm working and raising a kid and we're doing all kind of things. So I've got to get better than that. But having a schedule, and getting good sleep, that's very important. And taking time for yourself and doing kind things for yourself. That's important. Taking care of our every aspect of our health is so important, and it affects our mental health. Um, Stress is a huge factor in a lot of our lives, and it's not going to go away. We're gonna have times, we're gonna have tough seasons, and sometimes our seasons last longer than we want them to. But something I talk to with the clients that we have is CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And there's all kind of YouTube videos you can look up on that. And basically, what CBT is helping to change our thoughts for people that are negative, helping change your thoughts from negative to positive. It changes to change our behaviors, the way we do things, adopting healthy, positive ways. Something that we don't think about enough when we get stressed is just to breathe. Just
Mm.
take time to take some slow, deep breaths. Don't hyperventilate, y'all.
I can't
But
tell you how many times she's told me, and I want to fight back on it. I don't want to do this breathing stuff, but it works. It does work.
it does. It's slow, deep breaths. When you're angry, and I do want to cover sometime topic on anger and relationships and things like that. Um, but just getting away from a situation before you react, to step away and just breathe, take some deep breaths. That helps. There's also something I teach people called what's I refer to as like a 2-minute vacation. And that is when you're highly stressed or going through something, even if you're at work, step into the bathroom, take a break, go out to your car, go go somewhere that you can get away for just a couple minutes, close your eyes, start that breathing, and I want you to picture your favorite place. And mine is the ocean. So I'll close my eyes and start my breathing, kind of lower my blood pressure, bring myself back down a little bit. And I'll start envisioning the beach and I start hearing the seagulls and I can hear the waves and I can feel the sun. I can smell the salt air. I can feel the warm sand. When I'm focused on that, I can't focus on what's making me angry or stressed at the moment. And that will
Right.
help to bring your body back to its baseline, bring your blood pressure down, bring your breathing rate down, whatever anxiety you're feeling, bring it all down. If you can't do that, y'all, grab something in your pocket. I give out these little stones to people. Hold on to something, and when you're focused on what you're feeling in your hand, is it cold? Is it warm? Is it rough? Is it rigid? When you're focused on something different, you cannot focus on whatever it is that's upsetting you at the moment. And
I
can and
also, I also
yeah,
had to deal with that as well. I had to have something.
yeah,
A spinner. I had one of those spinners
yeah,
that
fidget
the kids
spinner.
have. It worked for me, but GGRB said Ocean is his place too.
Love the
Um,
ocean. Yes.
yeah, she's all about that, buddy. That's her place. That's for sure.
Yep, my mom told
Um,
me to move there, but I said, you know what? I wouldn't appreciate it as much if I lived by the ocean. So it's a special place for me to get to go and visit. But yeah, I love that. Some people like the mountains. I like the mountains too, but the ocean, there's something about it, and I feel so close to God when I'm there. It's very spiritual for me. So
let me ask you real quick. I'm gonna put it in the chat. GGRB also said yes. Whenever people go back and they download or look at the lives, they can see the chat. Which email do you want me to put in there? The 7171, or which one?
Yes, yeah. Go ahead and put that one in there, and in the subject line, put resource because I get a lot of junk mail. So put resources in that in the subject line, so I'll see that, or you can put your name of your show or whatever in there
Okay.
to reach out.
Well, I'm putting it all in there now. You just go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I don't want to. I know we're coming to the end. I had a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but it's something for another day. We can talk about. The main thing is I want people to practice self love, taking care of ourselves, realizing that there's nothing wrong with you that cannot be fixed where mental health and addiction is concerned. There is help available. Do not give up before the miracle happens because it's there. If you don't believe, if you don't believe in God and Christ, consider giving it a chance. Um, find something find something other than yourself and people. You put your faith in other people. um you have expectations in people that can lead to a letdown, especially when you're struggling with mental health. So reach out to people, start building connections. um Reach out, try to get therapy, whatever it is. Do something different, but don't give up. Do not give up, because everybody is worthy and has a purpose.
Yes, they are. And when we have beat ourselves down with addiction and mental health, we feel very, very unworthy. I always knew I was loved. That's because I had someone very special in my life during it. Not always, but the last of it for sure. She was there. She never let me down. She always had my back, and she's, talk about God. He's first, but Beth comes second with me being here. Um, and
Yes.
and when you
Thank
have
you.
someone like that in your life, it's worth it for them. I do believe that you have to get sober and do all these things for yourself, but I'm also one of them who will tell you I do believe you need somebody else as well. But that you don't have to have someone. I don't mean it that way. But for me,
That's
it's
why we
got
talk about building connections. You may not
mhm,
have that person.
right.
And if you don't, again, reach out to the crisis number 988. They have resources. United Way, number 211. Call. Do not give up, y'all. Do not give up. Pass this on. Reach out to others. Be kind to each other. Look out for others. We don't do enough of that anymore.
No,
Um,
we don't.
So, yeah, just take care of yourselves, do what you got to do, but just don't give up. I've had to rebuild, new relationships with people. Not everybody, people have let me down too. And but don't give up. There's somebody there, but start building those connections. Find something you enjoy doing during COVID. Like I even just started bird watching and learning about birds. I bought some cheap bird feeders and started feeding the birds and learning about the different birds. I picked up something called pour painting, which is POUR painting, which is pretty cool. But try different things. But it's temporary. It's temporary. There is help available. So if you don't have that special person that you can depend on, there's other ways, and
Without
that's
a
why I
doubt.
keep talking about reaching out, connections, find hobbies. Get into a hiking club, a biking club, a painting club, whatever it is that you like. Find
Not a
something.
biker club, a biking. No, I'm
A
playing.
biking club, yeah. Which is healthy, which
Yeah,
is like that's you're getting exercise and meeting people.
it is.
But it's important to do those things, and just to not give up. Just not give up. And something else I do is when I'm really stressed and I feel like I'm alone, and sometimes y'all you can feel alone when you're in a house full of people because you're not connecting.
Nope.
It's something I do when I'm really stressed is to write and journal, but I will write down whatever's going on, and people will call it like you put it in a God box. Um, Whatever that is, what it's significant of is releasing that to your higher power. I stick mine. I'll write down whatever I'm upset about, fold it up, and I just open my Bible and stick it in my Bible. And I promise y'all, I had somebody tell me this a long time ago, and I thought, yeah, right, it works.
Yep.
There is power in it, and it's just significant of me giving it to God. Like I don't have control over this. So I give it to him. And somehow it resolves itself. I don't know how. I
It's
guess
all
that's
God.
fate.
It
You know.
is. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for letting me share this.
It was awesome. This is now my favorite show I've done so far.
Oh,
And I've done some good ones. Thank you,
yes,
Bobby.
yeah.
Thank you, KABY. I'm not sure how I would say that, but thank you so much for coming by. If it's your first time, come back and see us again. I do at least, it was 3 live shows. I've been doing a lot more here lately. I am going to switch up and go to video. I won't be able to put the videos on here, but on all other platforms. But I will still keep coming on Podbean as well. And GGRB, thank you so much, Bobby. Thank you so much, and thank you for saying.
GJRB.
Yeah,
Yes.
he comes to a lot of my shows. He's here a lot.
Awesome.
And thank you again, Beth. And
Oh,
the resources are
thank
there.
you.
And remember, when that little negative voice tells you can't, remember you can, because you can.
Amen.
And it's going to tell you can't. Don't listen to it. It's a liar. So just like the devil, and that's anything negative is the devil, and everything positive is God. We love y'all and thank y'all, and God bless, and everybody have a good night.
Good night.
Night, baby.